What's going on, everyone? Sometimes in life you come across a story that is so enraging that you gotta drop everything and do a story on it. And this is one of those stories. And before I get into it, I'm going to ask you if you could please share this at least and put our voices behind this guy. We may not be the biggest channel, I know that for sure. Trust me, I've been battling YouTube for 4 years now, from shadow ban to shadow ban, but our voices still matter, and this guy desperately needs our help. And secondly, take off your political hat and put it aside for a minute and let your human side come out and put yourself in this guy's shoes and put yourself in his wife's shoes. Because this story is just outrageous in its draconian, sweeping... You'll see. From KOAT7, this is happening here in my state. I've been following it. When he won the lawsuit, I thought it was over. I was going to do a story, but then he won the lawsuit. But no, it's not over. This guy needs every little bit of help, so just consider sharing this, if you would. This guy, his name is Gary Hine, and he lives in an assisted living facility. This is Gary Hine and his wife right there. I'm not going to play the video for obvious YouTube reasons. They've been married for 30 years, and they both live in the same assisted living center. Gary Hine is in the assisted living center portion of it, and his wife is in the assisted living with memory care portion. So his wife has some memory issues. I feel for him. My father has those. He was not allowed to touch his wife. He was not allowed to see his wife. He was not allowed to even be in the same wing of the assisted living care center as his wife because of my state's health orders. He went and he sued the state, and he won. They're in their end life, their end stage life, and you're going to try to stop a couple from seeing each other. Well, new developments. He won the legal battle, but they're still denying him from seeing his wife. Imagine, 30 years married, and you are not allowed to see your wife. What gives these people the right to tell this couple that they don't have the freedom? You see what I'm saying when I say safety and security? They are mutually exclusive. And in this case, they don't even have the freedom to see each other. They've been married for 30 years. Look at your wife. Look at your husband. Look at your kids. Look at whoever it is you love in your life. And imagine, even if you haven't been married with them that long, even if you're only 16 years old, but imagine if you've been with that person for 30 years, they are your life. They are your life. After 30 years, someone together that long, they are your life. And you don't even have the freedom to see them in end-stage life. They are not, obviously, on life support or anything like that, but they are in the end stages of life. And let's be honest, let's be open. And the state is going to come in and tell them, we are going to decide your level of security and freedom for you. You are not going to be able to see your loved one because we deem it unsafe. Well, what about the freedom to see your loved one? What about the freedom to be able to make that choice for yourselves? So let's read this from KOAT, but man, dude. And they're obviously in love. I mean, I couldn't imagine the draconian measures, the audacity of the state. Albuquerque, New Mexico. And in fact, right across the street from me, pretty much. Gary Hines lives in the same assisted living facility as his wife, Anne. She, though, has dementia and is in memory care. Hine went to court saying some staff at the facility who had been exposed to COVID-19 were allowed near Anne, but he was not. Yeah, that's the logical sense that power-hungry people have. An emergency comes up, and you will find out who is power-hungry. It's like if you want to find out who your real friends in life are, move. And see who comes to help you move furniture. See who comes to help you move stuff. That's how you'll find out who your real friends are. If you want to find out who has power on their mind and wants to take power from you, let there be an emergency and see what happens. So you have nurses and staff who are purportedly repeatedly exposed to COVID-19. And we know this because this nursing home, well, it was a hot spot. They're allowed to go see his wife, but he isn't. And I would wager that his wife would agree that he is probably one of the most important people that she would like to see. Hein has been tested negative multiple times for COVID-19. So your arguments of, well, he's unsafe, he's unclean, he could infect her, well, he's tested negative. And besides, shouldn't they be allowed to make those decisions for themselves? They're adults, after all. They've been married for 30 years, so I'm assuming they're adults. They're in an assisted living center, so I'm assuming they have had a lifetime of experiences. They have lived a life which they can wager and garner what is good and bad, and they can weigh for themselves the pros and the cons and the consequences of things. They are, after all, adults, I'm assuming. And they've been married for 30 years, so here I'm appealing to two sides, the logical sense. They're adults and they've been married for 30 years. Let them make their own decision. And the second one, the religious people out there. No man shall separate the union which God has created, right? Two shall become one flesh, and here man is trying to separate the two. So no matter which side of the aisle you're on, this should disgust you. This should make your blood boil. In December, a judge sided with Hein, saying the state's health orders are too broad. After multiple requests, Hein said he still hasn't been allowed in any in-person visits. What I'm deathly afraid of is, even when the time runs out, that I won't be there. I can't think of anything really more difficult to deal with than your loved one dying while you're standing outside, he said. Yeah, imagine that. And I know we're a small fish in a large sea. But we're a small fish that still has a voice, and I'll come up with a hashtag and put it in the description and spread it. Just let it be known. Every little tiny battle that we fight against our rights being stripped away is a victory. A war isn't won in one battle. Most wars aren't. Some are. Some wars are won without a single shot. But political wars, wars of freedom in a non-violent protest / information age, well, it's slow. And it takes word of mouth. And it takes bravery. And it takes people willing to put their feet down and say, yeah, I know, I understand, nobody's listening. I'm still going to talk. I'm still going to say something. I'm still going to do what I can, when I can, how I can, as best as I can. And nobody, no man, no government can ever change my mind on that. No entity can either change my mind on that either. After 4 years of battling YouTube tooth and nail over my channel, I believe YouTube should finally realize that, I would have thought. But the battle continues. And here, this guy's battle continues as well. And all you have to do is share this video to attempt to make a difference in one small section. I know, just one small section. But a bunch of small sections make a larger section, which then make a larger section. And that's freedom. That's the power of freedom of speech, is to spread ideas like this and to spread things like this around. And to take back freedoms when freedoms are being stripped away. That's the power of freedom of speech. That's why freedom of speech is so important. If we didn't have freedom of speech, how are we supposed to tell other people when our freedoms are being taken away? You're not allowed to say it. So share this video. Take your part. Just a little free speech. A judge gave the state 3 weeks to make changes to their health order, and it's never going to happen. KOAT legal expert John Day said Hines' case could impact thousands of New Mexicans, and it could set precedents. That's why this is important. Precedence is set one stone at a time. It's like a stairway to get to change. It's not jumping up the cliff. It's building steps and making a path that winds its way up the cliff, one step at a time. Here's your step. What the judge was saying very specifically is that the state has gone too far in its order, allowing nursing homes to essentially prohibit people from seeing family members for any reason at all, Day said. And it is far sweeping. It is broad. It has no end to it. And that's scary. And that should scare you. Day said the state could make changes or fight the judge's decision. This is New Mexico. They'll fight. New Mexico's the most blue, most progressive state. They never adopt anything that financially benefits the state. Everything is socially geared in this state. It could take up to 3 weeks before the state comes back and says, this is how we're going to comply with a court order. The state can also appeal this and say, we don't believe this is a just decision. We're going to go to a higher court. So this thing could drag on, Day said. And of course, KOAT reached out and nobody heard back from the Department of Health, because nobody ever hears back from anybody that they ever reach out to. Where does it end? Where do you put your feet down? Where do you say, this is dumb, this is retarded, this shouldn't happen? I have completely demonetized my channel, completely, 100%. I'll pay for the channel. This is just YouTube. Screw YouTube. They are censorship. We can fight them a little bit here with a share. And we can fight the stripping of our rights with one little itty-bitty step. One little itty-bitty voice crying out in the night, saying no. Enough is enough. Take a step back. And how about you give us back some of what you have taken from us? I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.